Greetings everyone. So we'll look at systems of linear equations in this video. So when you'll read this book, or if you have read this book, you would agree with me that I shouldn't start with this particular example because it is overly complex to understand just a simple concept of a system of linear equations, how linear algebra helps us to represent a system of linear equations. Okay, so I'll move on from this example and I'll consider this particular example. Okay, so we have a system of linear equations. What is a system of linear equations? It is, okay, consider this particular equation, right? So there are three variables, x1, x2, and x3, and all of them have a power of 1, no degree 2 or higher terms, and it is equal to some constant. Okay, similarly for equation number 2 and equation number 3. So these are a set of linear equations. So we call such set of linear equations which are simultaneously satisfied as a system of linear equations. Okay, now when we look at this particular set of equations, we see that when we add to equation number 1 and equation number 2, right? So what do we get? We get 2x1, the x2 gets cancelled, and plus 3x3 equals 3 plus 2, right? So this becomes 5. And our third equation says 2x1 plus 3x3 equals 1. But we already were able to get this particular equation, right, which was equation number 1 plus equation number 2, right? So this the LHS in both the cases is the same, but the RHS value is different. This cannot happen in maths. A value cannot be equal to 1 and 5 at the same time. So we say that this system of linear equations has no solution. Okay, so this is the first case. Now, if you look at this system of linear equations, right? So again, we can simply add 1 and 2 to get 2x1 plus 3x3 equals 5. And if you are clever enough, you can see that if you add 2 and 3, you'll get x1 plus 3x3 equals 4. And on proper subtraction, elimination, and then substituting it, see, the idea is not to solve the equation, but to verify that we get the solution as this: x1 equal to x3 equal to, all of them are equal to 1. So as the book mentions, 1 comma 1 comma 1, where first value is x1, second value is x2, and the third value is x3, is the only solution to this problem. So in this case, the system of linear equations had a unique solution, which is 1 comma 1 comma 1. Now consider the third case. Okay, now consider the third case. What you get on adding 1 and 2, you get 2x1 plus 3x3 equals 5. But you see that the third equation is the same as that. Okay, and you can see that this is a line. Like, just imagine if this is x1 coordinate axis, and this is x2 coordinate, x3 coordinate axis. This could be imagined as a line in a 2D plane, but yeah, things get different in a 3D plane. But for now, I want to illustrate the fact that there are infinite number of points, x1 and x3, which can satisfy this equation. For example, if x3 is equal to 0, right? x3 is equal to 0, x1 is equal to 5 by 2. Similarly, when x1 is equal to 0, x3 is equal to 5 by 3 whenever when x1 is equal to 0, right? So you can see that there are more than one solutions to this system of linear equations. And as the book mentions, that any solution of this form, right, where a is any real number, okay, a is any real number, this kind of triplet will satisfy this system of linear equations. So in this case, the linear equation together have infinite number of solutions. So this is what a system of linear equation looks like, and this is what we mean by solving it. Okay, we can either have no solution, we can either have a unique solution, or we can have infinite number of solutions. Okay, so these are just how the nature of solutions are. Okay, now we'll talk about a very simple example, and we'll see how linear algebra comes into picture through this example. Okay. Now, as we studied in the case of vector, right? Anything that uh, when added together, like let's say I'm saying that if x and y are vector, right? Then x plus y has to be a vector. And if x is a vector and lambda is a real number, then lambda times x is also a vector, right? So we have learned this much. Now, we have these two equations, okay? 4x1 plus 4x2 equals 5, 2x1 minus 4x2 equals 1. Now, think of it this way, right? If I write this thing as this, x1 times this vector, okay? 4 and 2, okay? Plus uh, x2 times 4 and minus 4, okay? So if I consider x1 as the scalar, 4, 2 as our vector, adding it with the vector where x2 is the scalar and 4 minus 4 as the second vector. And if I add them together, we know that vectors are added component wise. We get 4x1 plus 4x2, and the second component is 2x1 minus 4x2. And we can simply say that this vector is equal to 5 1, right? Because when we say that the two vectors are equal, we know that each and every component of the vectors need to be each and every component of the vector needs to be equal, right? So this is another way of representing this above system of linear equations, right? We have not done anything different. We took the individual equations and wrote and broke it down like this, right? So we got a system of linear equations using scalar multiplication with vectors and adding those vectors together. Okay, so if we see, we can write equations in this form. Okay, we take each and every variable. Okay, let's say we have n variables. In the above case, we only have two variables, so n will be equal to 2, and we consider the coefficients of those variables as a vector, right? So this will come from the first equation, and this will come from the mth equation, and so on. And if we add them all together in this way, we take the first constant. So what do I mean by constant? So 5 will be equal to b1 in our example. Okay, this will be equal to b2. So this is how we'll represent a system of linear equations using vector, scalar multiplication and addition, right? So this idea is simple enough, and this translates to this particular equation. Okay, so before I go on explaining what this is and how this is similar to what we just discussed, we need to know about matrices. What are they? How to multiply matrices and so on, which will keep as a part of the next video. So this much is clear, right? Now I move on to that example, which I said is not a very motivating one when explaining the system of linear equations. So let me just try to break it down into a simple explanation so that everyone can understand. Okay, so this example tells us that we have n products. Okay, and there are names to each product. So this is n1 is the product number 1, and n sub n, I mean this is lowercase n, is the nth product. Okay, and similarly, in order to make those products, we have m resources. Okay, so what we know of is that in order to make one unit of nj, we need a into I aij aij. Don't focus on the subscript too much. It's just a way of relating the product with the resource number. Okay, so we need aij units of ri. Okay, uh, right, and we also know that we have only bi units of ri. Okay, nothing more, nothing less. We have only bi units of ri, and we know that we need aij units of ri in order to make nj, right? So we want to make as much of products n1 through nn as possible with the given constraints. so that we don't waste any resource. Okay, so this is the question at a high level. Now, how do we represent such a problem, right? So what we'll do is we'll we'll assume, okay, we'll assume that we make x1 units of n1 product, okay, because we only know how much resource is available. We don't know how much of a product is made, right? So this is an unknown for us. Similarly, we'll make x2 units of n2 and so on and so forth, right? So since we have n products, xn units of nn, right? Now, what do we know? We know that for a resource Ri, Bi is the total unit of the resource Ri available, right? So let's assume some of it got consumed while making x1, right? So we know that in order to make x1, ai1, in order to make n1, sorry, in order to make 1 unit of n1, we needed ai1 of resource Ri, right? So in order to make x1 units of n1, we'll need ai1 into x1 units of ri, right? Because the first subscript denotes the resource number and the second subscript denotes the product number. So in order to make 1 units of n1, we needed ai1. So for x1 units, it will be multiplied, right? And similarly, in order to make n2, we'll need ai2 into x2 and so on through ain into xn, right? So this will be the total consumption of bi so that it doesn't get wasted and we can make as much of any product as possible. Okay, so basically the idea is not to waste anything. Okay, so this is the equation that I formed here is this. Okay, so it has told us that what is the way to utilize resource Ri, and we know that the utilization would be the total amount of resource Ri that is available, which is Bi, total amount of resource Ri which is available, right? So we have written for every possible resource, right? So we have m resources and we wrote the utilization of each and every resource in terms of the constraint given, right? So we can take one example to understand this. So how much unit of b1 was available, like r1 was available, it was b1 units. So in order to make n1, we needed a11 units of b1 r1. So in order to make x1 units, we need a11 into x1 and so on. To make nn, we needed a1n units of r1, but to make x1 xn units, we needed a1n into xn units of r1. Okay, so this was the total utilization of r1 and so on and so forth. So this is how we get this system of linear equations. I know this is a little complex to understand at first, so just go through with this explanation and then again read the book. Okay, so I think in that case it will be more clear, and I hope I was able to get through. And in case you have any suggestions for improvement of this video, just comment and I will update the content of this video.